All right. Good morning, Light Rider students. Hope all is well with you. Obviously, I'm not in class with you today. So as you are watching this video, I am out doing a photo shoot for, actually two photo shoots for a couple of clients, and still wanted to put a video together so that you all would have some things to go with in class tomorrow, because you all know as well as I do that non-demonstrations are right around the corner, so we can't lose momentum in preparation for such things. So I'm going to record a short video going through some things underneath resources and camera culture, rather. So lesson 3, camera culture, intro. Underneath there, you'll see the resources tab with the Light Riders curriculum underneath there. Go ahead and click on that because that is the document that we are going to be pulling from today. If I recall correctly, your homework was to take 5 images of a single subject from varying angles. That may have been the homework 2 weeks ago. I don't totally recall. If you have not done that homework, upload it to the to a form now or to your wiki so that everyone has access to seeing it. If not, then please get to that as soon as possible. Because really we want to start to transition into the space where you all are shooting more and shooting a lot so we can get practice at shooting. So we're going to start working on and dealing with some of the aspects and elements and practices revolving around utilizing the camera, reading light, taking pictures, all that lovely stuff. So yes, take notes, watch this video twice if you need to. And for starters, as you can see underneath the camera culture tab, there are 2 quotes that I really like and that really near and dear to my heart as it relates to the photographic process. And one of them is by Dawoud Bey, who is a Chicago-based photographer who I had the opportunity to work with. And then another one is Roy DeCavara, who was a really famous photographer. 2 Black photographers, because again, I want to expose you all to Black and African photographers to show you that there's a world and a range of Black photographers that shoot a myriad of things and give you the opportunity to see that there's no one specific or no one categorically right way to shoot. So, quote says by Dawoud Bey, "People say don't stare. Through the photos, not only do I stare, but I allow viewers to stare at the subject, to see things they cannot see with a casual glance." Dawoud Bey. What I really love about this quote, among other things, and I want you all to look at both of these quotes and kind of have a discussion based around them in a form that I'm going to create. Just some reflections around these 2 quotes to think about how they resonate with you and how that might translate into your photography work. And what I like, there's Ethan. What I like most about this is this Dawoud Bey quote, is I think that it causes like the viewer, in this case, me as looking at images, you all the students looking at images, and even as the photographer creating an image, you know, in Western society, it's generally seen as like a really big invasion of privacy to stare at people. It makes folks generally uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable at times. And in other parts of the world, at least in my experience, this idea of staring as being a negative thing is at the very least not the case. And in some ways, it's seen as like a positive, like if someone's looking at you or giving you lots of energy, it can be seen like, okay, no, there's something about you that is fascinating, that's engaging in a like commodified sense. And particularly for people of African descent in the US and in the Western world, really taking the time to engage, to see, to experience each other. Really, photography, in my opinion, is unique in that it's one of the few opportunities outside of conversation and still distinct from conversation where we get the opportunity to engage each other or to see each other, or at least me as a viewer to see the subject in a photograph unobstructed, without distraction, to really experience and explore the data, the content, the stories that I make up that I also are aware of, I become aware of through the image, in the image. So what themes emerge, what stories emerge, what details emerge. Through this quote from Dawoud Bey, I think particularly this idea is to see things that they, i.e. the user or the consumer of the image, cannot see with the casual glance. As you all know, even I would say take a guess about how many images do you think you see in a day? And think about like broad scale, not just in your house or on television. Images are usually on book covers, magazine covers, in books and magazines, on the internet, advertisements for the YouTube video you actually want to watch. In the car, billboards, signs, going into stores for advertising. Like we're literally bombarded with images, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a visually oriented society and really bombarded with a myriad of imagery in the course of a day. How many of those images do you get, one, the opportunity to like control what you actually see? And then two, how much time do you think you spend really engaging a photograph or an image or even an advertisement to develop a critical analysis of it? Usually it's not something we think about. There's nothing wrong with that, just giving us an opportunity to become more aware of the visual world around us, and particularly an opportunity to pay more attention to the details contained in media messages and in images, which are obviously a form of media. So I want you all to reflect on that, to take this quote from Dawoud Bey and put your own spin on it. What exactly does it mean in your opinion? If y'all want to discuss this in groups or as a group, feel free to. And then come up with your own individual answer to this idea. How do you feel about being in front of a camera? Does it make you nervous? Does it make you scared? Or are you like selfie game on 1,000? But what if you're not the one taking the picture? So what are your own personal experiences with being on both sides of the camera? How do you feel? Use some stuff from Where My Voice Begins. How do you feel on one side of the camera when maybe you're taking the pictures, as opposed to how do you feel when you are being photographed? And post those answers as well in the form that I'm going to create for you all, called Light Writers Class Discussions 9/30/16. So the second one, which is really particularly important to me, and I actually am going to leave this one for you all just to have a discussion yourselves, but I'll read it, and obviously y'all will read it too. If Zuri's in class, Zuri, read this to the class. If not, y'all pick who's going to read it. But it says, you should be able to look at me and see my work. You should be able to look at my work and see me. So kind of like this reflexive or like self-reflecting process in this duality of my work is an extension of what I do, and what I do is an extension of my work. And I want you all to think about, what is your style? How do you develop style in your artistry? Some of you all are practitioners of various arts already, be it dance, music, making cupcakes, or what have you. What makes your unique expression of this medium of dance, of music, of baking, of photography? What makes yours unique? And not in a competitive sense, just taking some self-analysis and saying, okay, me as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, how do you, in living in 21st century, 2016 United States, you set the context, meaning what are the elements in your life? What are the elements around you? The interests that you have that help shape your, going to comparative national government, your worldview, and the way you look at the world. How do you translate that through your tool, in this case, a camera? And I want you to take some time to really consider that and delve into that, because that's a serious enterprise to take on. And it can be really fun, and I want you to delve into it. But I don't want to talk the entire hour and a half of class because I want to give you all time to work. So these two quotes, the second one, I want you to really take in and think about. The first one, I want you to discuss as a class and then develop your own interpretations and post them. And again, you should have already had the Light Writers curriculum open by now. If not, open it now. It's underneath resources. And in there, you are going to slide on down to, I believe it is slide 38 or 40. Let me open it up myself right now to see. Just 1 second. All right, you are going to slide down. You're going to skip all through the first section. You're going to slide down to, actually, we will start with slide, what is this? Slide 19. And I want you to go through this as a group. These are 3 general practices that I like to try on in my photography work, and were like instrumental in my development and continued development as a practitioner for photography. And I want you all to try these on too. And again, in this form chat, let me know, of the 3, which one do you think you'll struggle with doing the most? Which one do you think you're strongest in already? And so yeah, I'd say shoot often. Don't be afraid of taking too many shots. Professional photographers literally have thousands of unusable shots in their archives. That's super true. Shooting a lot and researching a lot of photography and photographers, which is why I had you all look into selecting a photographer to follow through the course of the semester. Your own unique style is very important to develop, and there's nothing wrong with borrowing or exploring or looking at what you like in other photographers' work and trying to integrate some of their techniques, their skills, their angles, their use of angles, the subject matter they cover into your own photographic experience. You're not, in this case, there's nothing wrong with copying for practice and then developing a style that is obviously uniquely yours, just like the other photographer's style is uniquely theirs, and incorporating that into your design sense. And one of the best ways to develop a design sense in terms of how you compose, and composure and composition is one of the terms we're going to use a lot in this class, which is a fancy way of saying how do you arrange the things that are in your photographs. So the people, the background, the shadows, the highlights, the colors. How do you integrate those into your image to tell a compelling story, or at least the one that you want to tell? A really fantastic way to get skilled in that is to really through training, similarly to weight training. You want to develop larger muscles, you engage in a process of push-ups, sit-ups, running, what have you, that build your muscles. Well, in photography, we're developing our own creative muscles as well, and that comes through shooting. So don't be afraid to go out and shoot for 3 or 4 hours, or try to commit to shooting a couple of hours each week, and really try to have fun with it, because what that will do is empower you to review your photos as well, because what these 2 things will do, shooting a lot and making decisions about what you're shooting, instead of just being like, camera's in front of my face, snap, 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 snap. Oh, is that good? Is that good? Nah. Like really thinking through, what do I want to photograph? Why do I want to photograph? How do I want to photograph what I'm looking at? And continually answer these questions as you're shooting. How can I photograph this differently? What's the most interesting way I can photograph this? What's the most boring way I can photograph this? What story do I want to tell through these images? And through that process of shooting, you'll get the opportunity to try out all these ideas, because there'll be hundreds of thousands of different situations you'll find yourself in. And each one will bring up a unique set of challenges, a unique set of opportunities, and I think a unique chance for like excitement. And so having fun with working through these images and developing your sense of style, so that you know, hey, I'm looking for these types of elements, people to be positioned in these ways, light to happen similarly like this, background to be kind of along these lines. The more you do that, the more you develop your sense of style, the faster that process can happen. I remember when I first started shooting, one of the things I was terrified of most was like positioning people, like have a model or people that want photos, particularly at weddings where the stakes are really high. And folks would be like, oh, okay, we got married, what do we do? And I'm kind of like, I don't know. and maybe look to the left. Let's give it a shot. And I had developed my sense of style. I didn't know what I was looking for. I wasn't confident in my voice of telling people what to do. And it was only through shooting actually regular portrait sessions that my skill set in shaping like models in weddings and those types of things, which still weddings aren't necessarily my strong suit. I got much better at having confidence to shoot and encourage people to do and try different things, because I also had a much better sense of what I was looking for. And that's situational. Again, weddings and portraits are going to have unique challenges or unique needs, just like family photos and photos of your younger brother, your younger sister may have different needs, a different sense of style. And the way to develop those styles is by shooting a lot, reviewing what you shoot, looking at examples of other photographers whose work you like in similarly related fields, and then having fun with the process in between. Editing, looking at, checking out, cropping, cutting, all those types of things. Next, step in deeper and out of your comfort zone. Shoot what and who you know. Shoot what and who you don't know. Push yourself to explore based on your interest. So there's a small caveat to this, or an addendum. If you're gonna, I really want you all to push yourself to shoot outside the context of what you're used to. Most of us are used to shooting people and doing light portrait work. Look at how many different styles of photography there are: nature photography, still life photography, astrophotography of the stars in the sky, architectural photography, etc., 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 etc. Photojournalism, which is probably my favorite style of photography, and event photography, protests, what have you, world events, local events. Take an opportunity to get deeper into the things that naturally interest you, and at the same time, try on pushing yourself to go shoot pictures of downtown or of the houses in your area. And you may never really develop your skill set in architectural photography to the point where you want to sell your photos or make money off of it or something like that. And how that will help you in the Light Writers class and beyond is that you'll be working these creative muscles to see, okay, how is portrait work really different from architectural photography? What type of skill set, what type of angles, what type of best practices do I see other people incorporating into their architectural photography needs, which is a bevy of images. Architectural photography is just an example. Since I'm interested in architecture, I look at a lot of architectural images. You can start to see, yeah, like there are definitely some similarities, and there are definitely some very distinct differences that help. I've learned a lot more about like angles that I can use in portrait photography, or at least I've paid a lot more attention to angles in my portrait photography through looking at architectural photography a lot more. So, yeah, where your comfort zone is at, step deeper into it. People that you know, what stories can you unearth about them through their photography? And I'll take this time to put a little point in here about the fact that for me, photography is really about storytelling through images. So we can take fascinating, compelling, nice, pretty pictures of smiling people all the time, and that has its place, and I think that's a great tool to use. And I'm also not a fan of creating the dramatic for the sake of the impact. Based on what stories, like the first quote says, you should see me, you should see me and see my work. You should see my work and see me. How does my worldview, the way I look at the world, the way I want the world to be, my successes, failures, struggles, challenges, critiques, questions. You can use your tool of photography to question. You don't have to decide or have a definitive stance on any particular thing within the subject matter of what you're talking about. This could be an opportunity for engagement and exploration. You want to raise questions and raise dialogue. You can do that. Where your work is to fill out, okay, what questions do I want to raise a dialogue around? What things do I want to explore? Even within the context of who I may already be familiar with, be it, again, brother and sister, mother and father, your own family lines, which are fantastic places to start. How can you learn more about your family through photography? Think about that. Really try taking that on for a little bit. You may know what your older brother's favorite, likes are. Follow him for a day. Getting into the habits and hobbies of the things that he enjoys most. And see how you can document that and see what you learn about him, not just with the imagery, but also with the words, the stories, the discussions y'all have along the way. Ask questions, because these things will give you more information about your subject, i.e. the person or the thing that you're shooting, and you don't have to make up stories in your head about who they are, what they like, what they don't like, etc., etc., etc. So there's that one. Number 3, which is a reinforcement of the last 2, practice other photographer styles. See a particular style of images that you like, try to copy it. This will help build your unique style and approach to photography. Basically, you have license to explore and try on, especially as young photographers, explore and try on styles of people that you like. So first you have to identify photographers who you like, which again, I really, really, really encourage and implore you all to do. And we'll check in with you all to see if you have done that during probably over the course of the weekend. So check the LMS over the weekend and you get a shout out from the cat. So yes, those are the 3 things. Pause the video here if you want to take a break, breathe, what have you, grab some water, take some notes, whatever. And when you come back, just push on down to slide 20, which is the next one. And I want you to read through that and go through this exercise of looking at this image and just detailing. I want you to put on a piece of paper. Let me see if I can find one for myself that I can have y'all practice on. I can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to model it as if it was here. So you take a sheet of paper, and what you're going to do is at the top right, 1 minute, or rather first glance. And all you're going to do is glance at the image and then write down everything that you see or that you remember. So it's like, boom, glance, all right. I saw whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then I want you to write down 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at the image for 30 seconds and then record data. And then 1 minute and record, see what you can find new in the image that you didn't see in the glance on the 30 seconds. And then with the 2 minute or the 3 minute piece, you're going to do the same thing. So I want to see what what details can you unearth through progressively spending more time with an image. And this is really training, not to be like, oh, Tafari wants you to be so good at photos that you can look at them for 3 minutes and be happy. Like, that's not the measure of progress in my mind. Is, can you look at an image and interpret it for its context and its story? At what questions come to your mind about the image that you want to ask? So in addition to writing down what you see, write down what questions that you have. So I want you to do that for that image. And then pick another image. And if there's an even number of you in class, this would be great. I want each of you to pick an image and then do the same process with someone else. So hypothetically, if it's like Yejide and Akili Mali, after you do this exercise, all as a collective group, and let each other know when you're done, then Akili Mali will go look and find an image that she likes, and Yejide will do the same thing, and then they will send each other their links via email or what have you, or through the chat, and you'll do the same thing to get, again, this practice and this training at looking deeper into images. And really that is getting into this whole model of the FGL, how to read the world around you. It's framing, geometry, and light. You all can read the details of what that means. We'll talk about it much more in detail next Friday. But we'll talk about the practice of this next Friday. But basically it is what it says, framing, what's in the image, or composition. Geometry, how do the angles and the light interact with each other to create windows through your image and details around your image. All right, this is going to take us closer to the end of what I wanted to wrap with y'all about. So you can skip slide 21. For your own efficacy, your own interest, you can look and see the world of photography and how many different types there are. Like, do that on your own time. This represents your homework. there's a side exercise that I want you to go through. Pick someone in the class to read it. Make sure you all understand it. And your work here will be, actually, we will do this next week because I want to do it with y'all so we can have a discussion about it. But the next slide, 23, and that'll take us to the end of class. This is your homework. Exercise patience. And this is how it works. Pick a spot outside your house. This can be your favorite park, your backyard, somewhere downtown in your city, depending on where you're able to move. I would encourage you, go somewhere that you like that's not your front yard. Bring a timer, cell phone works perfect, and a notebook. What you're gonna do is get to your spot. So like in Atlanta, I may pick Woodruff Park in downtown. Set the timer at 7 minutes, and bring your camera with you. During the 7 minutes, take in the scene. So what I'm gonna do for 7 minutes is kind of like pick a spot in Woodruff Park that I'm gonna pay particular attention to for 7 minutes. So it could be, I'm gonna pay attention to the open grassy area where it's maybe about, I don't know, about the size of a soccer field. And I'm just gonna pay attention to what's happening on it, what it looks like, who walks by, what do people do, how are they using the space, and just kind of like how do the trees frame and shape it, kind of the buildings frame and shape it, just kind of look at the life of this particular space for 7 minutes. And at the end of that 7 minutes, I want you to write down what did you notice about the space that you hadn't noticed before. So maybe it's like, oh wow, I didn't realize the grass was as green as it was, or I realized as many people actually use this space, or there looks like to be some really dope shots that I could set up by moving over here or touching this or doing that. And then list 2 areas that you might take a photograph at. So you say, oh, okay, I've checked this place out a little bit now. I've explored it for a little bit. These look like to be some good places that I would take some pictures. And then if you have someone with you, maybe take some practice shots. If not, maybe ask someone. I would encourage you not to go by yourself. It's best to work in pairs, particularly as young folks, because, well, anyone really, because of the unfortunately really challenging relationship that our community has with media in general, and cameras in particular, because of the way that media and cameras typically distort our stories, and end up becoming tools unintentionally of white supremacy. So folks come in, get a couple of sound bites, and then tell us what our experience is like, or come into our communities, take pictures to surveil us, to people end up locked up, people end up going to prison, people end up getting killed. And so folks are really weary of cameras and uncomfortable of cameras in our communities. And so we have to operate with a sensitivity to that reality, and work to work to create a sense of trust, that, hey, I'm just a student in a photography class, I'm working on some portrait work or working on the project. Here's the link to the school, here's such and such or whatever. May I take your picture? Or what have you, just to disarm and diffuse the situation, because usually people are gonna, I don't want you to be afraid of this, I want you to be prepared for it. Usually people kind of meet like, whoa, 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 what are you doing with this camera? What's up? Why are you taking pictures of me? Blah, 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 blah. And really what that comes from is, again, we don't know without talking to the person. We don't know what their story is, what their fears are, what their life is like, what things that are risks to them that may not be risks to us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And through conversation and connection, we can start to see, okay, what are the limits, the expectations, the areas where we can break some of these barriers down and use it as an opportunity for healing through this tool and this medium of photography. So there's that. Again, work in groups as often as possible, 2 minimum. I would say 3 or 4 if you all have the space to get together, or have your parents or a group of friends go with you and let them know about what you're doing. Or if they're really down, use them as the people that you want to shoot. Because sometimes, a little hint, sometimes if you bring someone that you know with you, and you're shooting, there's other people that you want to shoot, you can position your friend next to who you actually want to shoot, and then shoot that person. That's not a practice I would recommend, because can look deceptive, and if you do it, it takes some practice to get good at. So needless to say, if you're gonna shoot people, talk to them and ask them. If you're gonna bring friends with you to shoot, make them aware that you'll be shooting them for a class. So that is the wrap up for my brief, hopefully, I don't even know how long this video is, lecture. So your classwork is, as stated earlier in the video, and yeah, I'm going to create the form so y'all can upload your answers and stuff in there. The notes that you take, that you write down, I want you to type them up for the patience exercise, and they will be due on Tuesday, because you should be able to get this done between now and Tuesday. And that's it. So y'all have a fantastic day, fantastic class. If there's anything that you do need help with or are unclear on that I talked about, don't hesitate to shoot me a text message. I should be available sometime around 1 o'clock. So if I don't respond to you right away, I'll probably respond to you by then. If you need my contact information, shoot me an email, or you can ask Nadir, he has it. Or it should be on the Mukanda as well. So love y'all. Enjoy the day. Take it easy. Peace.